Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Whenever you're listening to this, it's nighttime for us. But welcome to the second episode of the Spillin' It podcast. I am Jesse Smith, along with my esteemed colleague here, Mr. Benjamin Boynton. Round of applause, round of applause. I'll hold. All right, that's enough.
Or Ben Boynton's wife, if
We,
you're my doctor on the phone, apparently. Sound like a
yeah,
woman, so
this keeps happening to you, and we do need to figure that out at some
every
point.
day. It's fine. It's whatever.
It's okay. I don't personally get it, but that's just how it is, I guess. So, we got some new setups here, just trying to slowly adjust and change things up as we go. Behind me, I got some of my favorite albums that I've had recently on vinyl, got some jerseys. Shout out to the Zombie Fever. We'll get to them a little bit later in the episode. Um, More than anything, I just needed a spot to put the giant Captain America shield. It
Podcast
just
is a
takes up
vehicle for
space.
Jesse's decor.
It really is, and honestly, you're going to be seeing it change quite a bit. Got my Guardians of the Galaxy album over here. This one was originally my vinyl for Hurry Up Tomorrow by the Weekend, but I thought this face would be a little off-putting to
It's a
put in
lot.
the background um, for an entire episode. So,
I'm given a nuanced
neither here
take
nor
on
there.
like the Rams pass rush, and I'm just like staring into his eyes, and I just start trailing off as I'm
Abel just gets
transfixed.
closer to the screen.
Tomorrow
So,
would
Ben,
hurry up.
yes, it really would. Ben, we made a bit of a mistake last week, and we forgot to give a little bit of
We'll do that.
the spill on it lore. Do you want to go ahead and explain to our viewers at home what's the Spill on It podcast name came from?
Yeah, when we got off the podcast last week, the first thing I think I said to Jesse was, I don't think we actually explained why our name is the Spillin' It podcast. We just kind of like jumped in and went right into the podcast. So, our radio teacher in high school, we had a high school where we had a radio program. That's not where Jesse and I met, but it's really where like we became the level of friends that we are today.
Yes.
His name was Spillbeller. Shout out. Mr. Spill, if you're listening, probably not, but maybe someday. This will be historic audio. But his name was Spillbeller, but he went by Spill. So when we were kind of deciding to get into the podcast game as the only two white guys that didn't have a podcast, we decided we didn't really have any names and we were just kind of throwing some stuff around. And one of us, I don't even remember at this point who it was, said spilling it. And it just kind of stuck. A, because we liked it, and B, because we didn't think of anything better. So the money can change us, though. We will change our name to a sponsored name if a sponsor wants to step forward. But yeah, that's where it came from. Is that was really where you and I kind of like, not to sound so cliche, but really found our voices in media was
Absolutely.
obviously at the radio station. And my infamous first radio show where I talked forever and got cut off midair because I misunderstood the assignment.
You
But
literally misunderstood your assignment.
correct. But that's where Spillin' It comes from. Is it's kind of an homage to where Jesse and I first got to spend time on air talking about ball.
Yeah, and that whole experience in that program really shaped who I became and taught me a lot of incredible life lessons. So again, Spill, if you're listening to this, your impact is being felt constantly, and I use some of the strategies that you used as a teacher in my own teaching career. So always thankful for WHJE back home in Carmel,
The
Indiana.
Edge.
The Edge.
I gotta see if I can
Um,
find that poster I made for him to. Spill had this rule where you could bring him a music poster of like an album or an artist, and he would put it on the wall in his classroom. And precocious young me, who was just as bit of an asshole in high school as he is now, or smart ass, I guess is the better term, made a poster of myself in the studio. And I kept one and I gave one to him to hang up. And he did apparently hang it up for like a couple weeks. And then he was like, yeah, I can't, I don't want this up
I
anymore.
can't do
And
this
it
anymore.
took it down, but I got a couple weeks.
The fact that you got a couple weeks is actually impressive.
Honestly, he probably just forgot. Like he put it up at the beginning of the period and then forgot it was there. And then a
It
couple
was
weeks
like,
later, like it was like a jump scare. He's like, oh, good God, I got to get that out of here.
Hey, you made some quality assignments, especially in
Did
your
what I
music.
can.
We'll get to that. That's deeper lore for a different time. Go ahead and switching it up now, getting into our first section. This was a bit of a last minute add into it, but wanted to talk about the passing of Nancy Leonard. You know, you and I both Indianapolis boys, and me rocking the Pacers finals hat today.
Me
You
rocking
know,
my Joseph Adai Colts jersey as deranged
hey,
jersey of
you
the
know,
week.
it's the culture. What else can we say?
For the
But
shoe, maybe.
you know, you really just can't possibly overstate what the Leonard family meant to the city of Indianapolis. But, you know, a lot of people see Slick, and rightfully so, as this, you know, figurehead of the Pacers and this voice of the Pacers, you know, coined the term boom baby. And his presence is just felt all throughout, you know, Pacers broadcast and in the traditions that Pacers fans have. But for me, Nancy Leonard was always that unsung hero that I think people don't fully know and therefore cannot fully appreciate what she did. You know, really being the de facto general manager of the Pacers during probably the most difficult portion to be in that position. You know, she was never given that full title, but you know, essentially the first female general manager in the entire NBA. I think is such a cool thing for her saved the Pacers by having the idea to have a telethon, selling 8,000 season tickets, raising $2 million in order to keep the team in Indianapolis. And you know, her passing today is, you know, just a reminder that both of them really deserve to be revered in Pacers history.
Yeah, sorry, I was looking down. I'm gonna have actual thoughts about Nancy Leonard, but I was curious. $250 is how much those season tickets cost. Sorry, I was trying to do the math in my head, and I was like, I can't listen to what Jesse's saying and also do the math in my head. Yeah, no, Nancy Leonard is truly. You see these like biopics all the time. Hidden Figures is the first one that comes to mind. Title is a bit on the nose, but about these people who just truly had an impact that the general public doesn't know because they don't get credited for it. And truly, Jesse, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Nancy Leonard was what kept the Pacers afloat, both as a business, but also she helped her husband out a lot behind the scenes. Really, and like you were saying, at a point when women didn't have that opportunity in sport, they still really do not.
They
I
still
mean,
don't, yeah, especially at the executive level.
Kim Ng with the Seattle Mariners is like the only female GM of a major pro sports male team in the last several years, or in recent history that I can think of. Maybe I'm forgetting somebody, but when she was given that job, that was a huge deal. But Nancy Leonard, you know, and even if you need an example of the influence that she set, go look at choose an Indianapolis sports figure or columnist or media personality. They've all posted about her today. Tyrese Halliburton had a nice post, and plenty of folks that have just been in indie sports for a long time. You know, she was to her end. She was a supporter of the team and a constant presence, and it's just a really inspiring person. I highly encourage you. You know, Jesse and I aren't gonna go through her biography for the next 40 minutes or anything like that, but I would highly encourage you go do some research on Nancy Leonard. There's probably going to be a lot of stuff coming out over the next couple of days, just given the timing of the tragic news. But just a really, really inspiring person and a big reason why we even have a Pacers team for me to get irrationally happy and angry about is Nancy Leonard. Truthfully, like she pretty much let Slick cook and took care of the books and did everything else that it took to get that team to survive and to build into the franchise that we have today that was 24 minutes for an NBA title. Not that I'm salty about it.
Yeah, you know, and in her incredible 93 years of life, you know, just being able to oversee the transition of that team from ABA to NBA when it wasn't even supposed to survive in the first place. You know, a lot of people forget that Kentucky was supposed to get that NBA team, but couldn't come up with the requirements to get there in time. And the Pacers swooped in. And I mean, we almost
Cash,
didn't have that
arena,
team.
education level, you know, they just didn't
Yeah,
have it.
yeah. And I feel like there's some extra digs there. Yeah, no, 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 you would never.
Sounds about
But
right.
Shout out to both the Leonards. Thank you for everything that you did for us to be able to have this team. And you could argue that the professional landscape of sports in Indiana would look completely different without the Pacers there. Being able to have the proof of concept was part of what helped bring the Colts in. And being able
Hmm.
to have the Indianapolis Indians. So, downtown Indianapolis is a vibrant sports city, being able to host the Super Bowl, being able to host Final Fours, and most recently, the NBA Finals. A lot of that has to do with the two of them and all the sacrifices they made. So, again, shout outs and rest in peace to Nancy Leonard.
Absolutely. Well said. Yeah, and the growth of the city just from all that, 100%. Well,
Absolutely.
sorry, I cut you off, Jesse.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, we're gonna go ahead and move on to our week three recap of the NFL season. We made some picks last week.
Picks were
Some of them
made.
did not go well.
Picks
It's
were made.
important to
That's all we can
remember
say.
that we are not psychic, or my podcast setup would look a lot more plush than the couch in my game room. But I will say, Jesse and I have had good years picking. Last week was not one of them, and we'll get into that when we get to the picks portion. But Jesse, are there any storylines, performances, things that really grabbed your attention in week three that you'd like to bring to the table here?
Definitely. I think the biggest disappointment I had this week was the Atlanta Falcons.
Hmm.
What in the world happened? How do you
The
go
Falcons get a
from
Falcon, man. I don't know.
and
I said they were funky,
you did,
but I said
and
that about
it
half the league, so.
that's fair. But with them, I just don't understand how you can have such a dominant performance against the Vikings and go through and handle the ball in all three facets of the game and then just completely collapse the way that they did against Carolina of all teams. And I get it. Carolina is in a rebuild. They do have some talented people and they got some talented guys in key spots. But at the end of the day, that's a game you have to win. That's a division game. You have to come away with the win. I don't care what the process is. You gotta have a W there.
Yeah, and I think especially to lose in the fashion that they did, it's not like week one for the Ravens, right? Where they scored 41, but the Bills, or 40, whatever, and the Bills just outscored them, where you can be like, well, the
Right.
offense did their job today. We just got to shore up that defense. Like, everything was bad for the Falcons. Their execution was abysmal. Clearly, the offense was putrid. You don't see a lot of teams in the NFL score 0 points. That's not a
Right.
common score.
Yeah.
And to give up 30 from the Panthers, where it's not like the Panthers just controlled the clock the whole game and just like it's not Navy in the triple option where you have like four possessions. So it's a situation where if you don't score, you're kind of like, well, I mean, we barely had the ball. No, I mean, Penix looked so bad that they pulled him for Kirk Cousins with like 10
Yeah.
minutes to go, which like there's no point in him playing in a game that's decided, but you just also don't see the quarterbacks benched or starters benched at the NFL level as often just because the rosters
No.
are smaller.
Especially he needs the reps. He's so young
Yeah, he's
still.
so young. And then did you see the weird stuff today? I think it was today where Raheem Morris kind of like threw Kirk Cousins under the bus and he was asked like, is there a quarterback competition? Is the competition reopened or anything like that? Or and he kind of was like, Kirk lost his job last year. This is Michael's team now, and he just had a rough game, so we made a change. And it's like, I mean, Kirk, whatever you think of Kirk Cousins, he's a respected veteran and
He's been in
the
the league for a reason.
situation has handled the situation in Atlanta as well as anyone could be expected, and to just throw him under the bus publicly for a game where he wasn't even really the reason.
No,
I mean,
the game was
not
over.
really. The game was over before he entered the game. So I don't know. I want to double down on my Falcons vibes are bad.
Yes.
They're still so talented on offense, and they have a lot of new faces on defense. They could still like turn it around, but. Certainly for a team that I think a lot of people expected higher of this year, it has not been a strong start.
I agree. And part of the reason why I have the Captain America shield back here right now is because I wanted to make a point of I did this to myself, and I knew it going into it, but it reminds me of the Spider-Man Homecoming where Cap sits down, he's like, "So you got detention." This is me with picking Kyle Pitts as my tight end. I knew this.
Okay,
And
but
I
Kyle
told
Pitts has
myself,
been like viable this year.
he's been viable, but again, for the name, it's just if his name was, I can't even think of a fake name at this time, Tim Jones, we'd be like, okay, he's a decent tight end, but it's the name I think that's
But
associated to it being
where
the
did you
first round pick.
draft Kyle Pitts?
It was late. It was late. I will give
He's
myself
averaging
that.
5 catches for like 45 yards, which not like elite numbers, but in
Yeah,
PPR, I mean, that's like almost 10 points. It's not horrible.
yeah.
Anyway,
It'll get you
sorry,
something.
The Kyle Pitts poison will get to you though. And my final point on this game before we move on, Panthers didn't even really play that well. Like
No,
their
they
defense
didn't.
was decent and played a good game, but the offense was not did not score 30 points on merit. I just wanted to add that in there. I had a game that I feel like for our intents and purposes, we should just pretend the Packers game didn't happen because we spent so much
Yeah, we
of the
said
game.
things
I
were said.
I think that, they're not going to go undefeated. Cleveland's front is insane, and the Packers had a bunch of line injuries. I think that probably kind of sums up
Things
that
happen.
game.
Yeah, things just
Um,
happen.
what I want to talk about is actually it's kind of painful because I hate this team, but I'm starting to think the Chargers might be the real team of destiny outside of the Packers. Of course, I'm still on the Packers bandwagon, but I just credit to Jim Harbaugh, man.
Yeah,
The talent is not like it's not a bereft of talent roster, but it's also not one where you're like littered with all pros all over the roster. But
correct.
they have something just absolutely cooking. Their defense is suffocating. Very, very, very strong defense. They gave up some points this past week, but they got, I mean, 20 is not a crazy amount for an NFL
Right.
team to give up, and they got the job done. And, oh, good God. Uh, but the more important thing, Justin Herbert is him, man. He is so
He
him.
is.
It's crazy. And he has been for so long, but his team was just so destitute around him that it didn't matter. But Loki, I saw this tweet earlier in the week. He's risen to third in MVP odds. I think it's early, obviously. He's got 14 more games to play, but the narrative is there. He's a fresh face, finally ascending. Unfortunately, because hate the franchise. I hope it suffers, but I think that the Chargers I think they're legit this year in a way that they weren't last year. They have some of the new weapons on offense. It hasn't been the smoothest sailing for Marion Hampton, but he has the talent, and I assume he'll figure it out. And even like
He's gonna
Quentin
have
John,
to. I mean, no Najee
no
Harris the rest of
Najee,
the
who
year.
by the way, Iron Man in the NFL, then goes to the Chargers and blows off his eye and then tears his Achilles. Chargers. Um, but Quentin Johnston has been like a real receiver this season, and they still haven't really had to rely a lot on some of the younger guys like Trey Harris. But Oronde Gadsden, sorry to just like be guys naming dudes, but Oronde Gadsden has been like he's had some flashes. He only has 5 catches for 46 yards, but a lot of people that I respect have had a lot of positive things to say about him so far this year. And even the corpse of Keenan Allen has made some plays. I don't know, man. I hate saying it because they just like they find a way to win. Their schedule's not that hard. Their next 4 games are Giants, Commanders, Dolphins, Colts, and then they've still got the Titans, the Steelers, the Jaguars, the Raiders. It's not the Cowboys in like December. I don't know. My takeaway. I really think that this goes without saying, but I think the Bills are the team we think they are. But that number 2 spot in the AFC seems wide open right now, and I think that the Chargers have
Completely.
as good a
Completely.
case as anyone to take it.
I would agree 100%. I drafted Herbert in fantasy this year just more than anything because I forgot to take a quarterback. And, looking down the line, I was like, oh, he can put up some numbers when he needs to. And I'm happy that Harbaugh's finally, in my opinion, taken those training wheels off of him and really kind of let him dictate the offense because he is their number one weapon. They finally put a good enough team around him, I think. And when's the last time that we could say that the Chargers had a decent defense? Sean Merriman era? I mean,
Yeah, it's been
it's
a long
been
time.
it's been a long time. And the fact of the matter is, because they are playing so well in each section of the game, in every facet. I would say that they're the number two team in the AFC right now. And honestly, in any given day, I think they could go toe to toe with the Bills. And for me, looking at that, the biggest difference is, and I think you alluded to it, is how they're finishing games. That
Hmm.
Broncos game last week, that's a game that they lose 10 out of 10 times the last 3 years.
All we've ever done is see them lose that game.
Yeah. So to see them actually, I know for you personally, that wasn't what you wanted to see, but from a pure football standpoint, seeing that I think is an encouraging sign for a franchise that really hasn't had much going on.
Sorry, I couldn't figure out how to point to the Broncos Stadium in my background. That was humbling. Yeah, it's wide open, man, because we're not gonna write the Chiefs off, but they're 1-2. It's looked funky
Yeah.
there. The Ravens, I think, are good. They blew out the Browns, sandwiched around the 1 point loss to Buffalo, and then obviously they couldn't quite get it done against Detroit. But their schedule is, and I'm not out on the Ravens.
No, not at all.
They were my Super Bowl pick from the AFC, or they were yours.
Yeah, they're mine.
I would have them probably playing Buffalo in the AFC Championship if you throw out seeding. But their schedule, man, they play at the Chiefs this week. They'll be home against the Texans, who have also
Brutal.
looked awful, but are a talented team. Then they have the Rams, Bears, who can score on you. It gets easier for them later in the season, but they could really dig themselves into a hole that I think will matter seeding wise, at least. I'm not saying the Chargers are
Absolutely.
going to win the Super Bowl or anything, but I think that number two spot, the division is open. They have three division wins already in three
Yeah.
weeks, which is
It's
huge for
huge.
tiebreakers,
Huge.
especially with the Chiefs dropping some early games, including to the Chargers. I don't know. Okay, any other big picture thoughts other than Jonathan Taylor's a beast, and that's really
RB1.
all we got to say?
RB1. I think last thing before we move on to week four previews and picks, I really liked what I saw from the Bears. I don't think they're a playoff team this year by any means, but I did appreciate how they responded to just getting absolutely smacked
Hmm.
down by Detroit and coming back home against a Dallas team that can play. Again, Dallas is one of those teams, they're a coin flip. Any given week, they could look like one of the best teams in the conference, or they could look like one of the worst teams in the entire league. And they handled business, especially on the offensive side of the ball. Caleb had time to throw, he was decisive. And I think that was a really encouraging sign for Ben Johnson and his team.
Yeah, I got a text from someone who I'm not gonna name because I'm not out here to dirty laundry, but I got a text from somebody after I think it was week one, because Caleb looked really good in the first half of that first game, and then the second half was not good against the
Yeah.
Vikings. And it was like, is it too soon to call him a bust? And I was like, absolutely. I mean, the situation
Yeah.
last year was really bad. The offensive line was horrendous. Now Caleb does take he hasn't seen a sack that he didn't want to take yet in his
It
career,
takes 3 to 5 business days to throw the ball sometimes,
but
and that's
he also has had like other circumstances with bad line play. The receivers last year were disappointing. The offense was just a mess in general. And so with Ben Johnson, I'm like, all right, what I said was I want to wait until at least mid-season before we evaluate Caleb. Just let's see how it is better under what are clearly better circumstances. And man, it looks a lot better. He's still a
it
young
does.
quarterback. But he's making throws. I don't know if you saw the flea flicker
I
that they
did.
did.
The
Unbel
DeAndre Swift hot air balloon pitch.
Unbelievable throw though. Like from Caleb,
That
he
was a
threw that
dime.
thing
It was a dime.
62 yards. Um,
Yeah.
and it just like hung in the air forever. He had a couple other throws that I was really impressed by. On the season, he's completing 63% of his passes, not like the best mark in the league, but certainly a number you can live with. Seven
Yeah.
touchdowns, one interception. Not to be like a stats guy, but he has taken six sacks, which you got to cut down on that a little bit. But he's made plays, and the Bears'
Yes.
offense, like when we clowned on the Bears last week, it was not because their offense is putrid. It was because their defense was putrid.
Yeah.
But the Bears, in their three games, they've scored at least 20 points in all three games. A low bar for success, but there's been stuff to build on. Caleb's
Absolutely.
best game of his career, I think, this past week,
Oh, unquestionably.
easily,
Unquestionably.
and encouraging to see. Now he's got to string some together. He does get to play the Raiders this week, then they get a bye, and then they play the Commanders and Saints. So certainly some opportunity here for him to really build on that. Again, we're not. I definitely don't think they're a playoff team, but they need a real running back. But I think that there's certainly optimism to be had for Buffalo. I mean, yeah, Chicago.
I
Buffalo
agree.
Bears.
And one
Buffalo
last
Bears kind of
thing,
rolls.
it does. I feel it. One last thing before we roll on, that 7-to-1 ratio that you mentioned of his touchdown to interception comes out to around 39-6 by the end of the season. If you're a Bears fan, you're taking that every single day of the week because good things
That's
are
an insane
happening.
season. Yeah.
Yeah, and that it's probably the greatest quarterback season the Bears ever had. I mean,
I don't think
if
they've
we're
ever
being
had a quarterback throw. I know they've never had a quarterback throw 4,000 yards, and I don't think they've
right.
ever had any quarterback throw over 30 touchdowns. And I wish I was joking, but
Yeah, definitely not 35. But think you're probably right too, because even when Cutler was throwing his 2020 seasons,
oh, Cutler,
I
talk
don't
about
think he
jersey I
ever
got in the
reached
other room.
30. Amazing. While you're looking that up, I'm going to take a look at week 4 as we transition
29, yeah, the
into
record is 29. Eric
29.
Kramer in 1995, when we were born, or at least when I was born.
What even Cutler?
It was not even Cutler, which is also just truly crazy. But yeah, I,
Oh gosh. So week 4, I'm gonna go
hmm.
ahead and make some picks here and briefly chat about what's to come.
Should we
Um,
highlight how we're doing on the season and how we did last week?
I think
As
so.
loath as I am to do it, I think accountability is important.
Accountability is important. That's what makes us all better. So last week I went 9-7. And considering all things, I think I'll take it. It was my first one on air. I was just happy I didn't go 0-16.
Some
For
of
my
us
picks
tried.
on we tried our darndest, especially Green Bay really trying to help us out there. Um, so overall in the season, I am 31-17, pretty happy with my start.
I went 6-10 last week, which is truly just grim because I was 27-5 in the first 2 weeks, and I'm sure our listeners are like, "Well, we didn't see proof of this, so yeah, I guess we'll have to
We could
take
just
your
be
word
saying
for it."
numbers at this
And
point.
correct, you do have to take my word for it, but I do have these picks in other pools and whatnot. And I was talking a little cocky in our staff meeting at work because we have a work picks pool, and I was asked like for an update on it because I've been putting it together, and I was like, well, I'm winning, obviously, like come on. And then I was a little humble, and then I got one more like little dig in there, and then I came in dead last in the group. And one of my coworkers was texting me throughout the day because she was keeping an eye on it, and she's like, "You're getting like worked today," and I was like, "Yeah, I kind of deserve that. That's my fault." Obviously, I made the picks. It's like when you go to Subway and you're like, "The sandwich sucks." Like you made the sandwich. But yeah, it was tough. But we're gonna bounce back, Jesse, and hopefully we have um a little bit more debate this week. Obviously, I think our conversation was good, but I'm hoping to just be like, you're wrong today, at least 3 times.
Start throwing virtual blows here. Um, yes. So first game on the slates that we have is going to be the Thursday night matchup, Seahawks and Cardinals. I'm going to be completely real with you, man. I don't know if I'm watching this one.
Hmm.
I might find something else to do. And it's no offense to either of those teams, but Kyler Murray has been allowed to be mid in the 405 slot for the last several years of his career, putting up good fantasy numbers, but not really, registering into the W column.
And I
And
feel
then
like
the
that's
Sam
especially
Darnold led
egregious because there's
Seahawks.
fewer games, so
Right.
you're forced to
And
watch it.
yeah. And with this one, I'm taking the Seahawks. I'm going to be honest. I picked one. I just picked one here.
Yeah, I also took Seattle. I think that a lot of the things we said about them last week still hold. Their defense is exciting. Sam Darnold has quietly had a really strong statistical season and
Mhm.
has had some nice throws. I don't know how much I buy it. He was good. He was like fine last year, but I think his reputation last year was a little overblown because of the team success and just because he had looked like aggressively bad for most of his career. But in Arizona, I do think kind of figures it out and probably wins 9 or 10 games, but I just like Seattle a bit more in this one. Kind of like you, I don't have like an X's and O's reason necessarily. I like the momentum that they're kind of building for themselves.
If I did have to pick an X's and O's reason, I'm going to point to the running game. I think Kenneth Walker is going to have a pretty decent game. And I almost said St. Louis. I'm on the wrong sport here. Arizona, the Arizona Cardinals, they just lost James Conner. So I
Yeah,
I do believe
brutal.
Trey Benson, yeah, horrible injury. I think Trey Benson's going to take a couple weeks to get warmed up with the new workload. So, with that,
That's
I
a good
think ball
reminder. I gotta
control.
check some fantasy. I'm pretty sure I have James Conner in a couple leagues.
Hey, you're welcome for that. Next game on the slate is the 9:30 a.m. on Sunday, the Dublin game. On my
Ooh.
notes, I had a plan to do an accent, but I'm going to go ahead and refrain from that because accents are not my strong suit, and most of our listeners haven't even decided if they like this podcast enough yet. So I'm
You
just
don't
going to
want
go ahead
to
and
you don't want to do it like a really cartoony Irish accent and scare off like the eight people that are listening. Which, by the way, shout out to we got more than two listeners, which is what we expected. So shout out to everyone that listened to the pod. I can't believe we were
yes,
like 40 minutes in before we acknowledged that people actually listened. But shout out.
yes, we love our fans.
Anyway, sorry, Jesse,
Vikings
your
Steelers on
analysis.
this one. You were fine. Vikings Steelers on this one. I was really intrigued by what I saw from the Vikings last week. I know they're playing a Bengals team who has been a saloon door on defense the last several years and are missing Joe Burrow. So you can't weigh it too heavily, but Jake Browning has won games in the NFL. It's not like he's just some dude off the street. So for this one, I actually am still taking the Vikings just because of the skill position players that they have. It's really hard for me to look at a team that has a pretty decent defense and Justin Jefferson on the squad. Jordan Mason's getting more work now that Aaron Jones is hurt. It's hard for me to look at them and not pick them in this situation. But these games, the ones when they go play overseas are always weird. Something weird always happens, and it's just that unexpectedness with the travel. But I went ahead and took the Vikings on this one.
Absolutely. Couple thoughts. Number one, I'm gonna introduce an alternative metaphor for saloon door. It's kind of like the bartender, which I know you don't drink, but it's kind of like the bartender at the bar who's looking at IDs like, yeah, you're good. Yeah, you're good. That's that defense for the
Yes,
last several years. Um, well, I'm excited. This is number one where we disagree because I
there we
took
go.
Pittsburgh. I want to on the record, sorry to my lovely wife, I don't feel comfortable selecting Pittsburgh. But and Minnesota obviously blew the doors off the Bengals this past week, but I think a lot of it was kind of fluky. I don't think Colts legend Isaiah Rodgers is scoring two touchdowns on defense every week. And Jake Browning, honestly, he is like a capable backup, like we highlighted that last week, and then he just like played like ass. But
Yeah,
um Aaron Rodgers is not gonna make those same mistakes.
no,
They can't run the ball for shit, but I feel like in these weird, funky overseas games, I feel like my strategy is going to be I'm going to defer to who I think is the most consistent. And even though it hasn't looked pretty in Pittsburgh, I feel like Aaron has played not that bad. And
no. He's
also,
looked definitely better than he has against when he's with the Jets for
he
sure.
looks way better. I'm sorry, man, I can't pick Carson Wentz in a foreign country. Something about that. He was born to play these like Europe games, but as part of the Rainfire, not as like the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback. I can't do it. Even though he looks like a leprechaun, right? Like he should fit right in. I can't do it. I don't think the luck of the Irish is with Carson. All right, and you know what, Jesse? This is a
Chargers
this is a
Giants.
great time for our first sponsored ad break. As I try to reel myself back in, I just had a couple thoughts that I had to empty the clip, but we'll come right back with more picks.
Sounds great. Welcome back from the non-ad break. Again, we are taking sponsors. If you are looking for a huge opportunity to get your message out to about 50 listeners,
Yeah,
please
I
feel
mean,
free.
it's a
And
good get on the
10 of
ground
them were
floor.
my wife. I mean,
I got to be one of the listeners because I sat and listened with my wife, which was actually really good. I took notes of things. I say the word a lot, so I've tried really hard in this episode to not do
you've done
that.
great.
I feel like I've done a lot better, but we'll see. It feels good. We're getting our sea legs under us. All right, Jesse,
Exactly.
what's the next game?
Next game is Chargers Giants. I haven't seen anything from the Giants, and this is mostly me just being salty as a Malik Neighbors owner in two leagues. I haven't seen anything from the Giants that makes me believe they are going to win this game or have a chance in this game. So I am taking, I once again for the second straight week almost said San Diego. I am taking the LA Chargers.
Yeah, I also am a heavy investor in the Malik Neighbors train. I have, I think like seven. I said I'm not saying a lot, then I did like four times there. I have like seven or eight underdog best ball drafts, and my exposure for Malik Neighbors is like 80%. I learned. So I took him in almost every one of those because I think every time I got to on the clock, I was like, damn, Malik
It's
Neighbors
right
is still
there. Yeah.
here. I'm looking at the top 50 receivers in football yardage wise. Malik Neighbors not going to be found on here. Although Wandale Robinson, his teammate is 12th. So the yards are there, I guess. Jackson Dart does not inspire any confidence in me. I would have picked Chargers even if Russ was playing because it's not like Russ is lighting the world on fire, but this is a pretty clear 4-0 Chargers team to me. Barring some kooky shit,
Yeah.
Kooky is always possible, but I think this is
Cleveland
definitely Chargers.
Browns
I
week
don't think we
3.
have to waste a lot of more time on
No.
on it. Chargers by
Um,
90.
this next one, I think is going to be in the same boat. It's Texans Titans. I'm taking Houston all the way on this one, and I'm going to echo what Michael Pittman Jr. said about the Titans this week. Pretty much, it just looked like they didn't want to play. And based off of the penalties and everything I saw from the Titans last week, outside of Cam Ward, I didn't really see a whole lot that's going to give me confidence in this game.
Yeah, again, I think Houston needs a win even more desperately than they did last week
Yes.
when I said they desperately needed
Yes.
a win. So I think that this is definitely one of those situations where they're gonna have to get it done, or
Yep.
it's not gonna happen for them. And I think it will happen for them. I like Cam Ward still, but
Yeah.
it's
Just not
definitely
this year.
a 1-3 Texans sounds about right.
Yeah. Next one's gonna be Commanders Falcons. Was really intrigued by what I saw from Mariota. I know you were high on him last week as a backup coming in. Daniel's status still up in the air. He said he's feeling pretty good, but I think either way, I think the Commanders take this one over the Falcons in this scenario. Um, Falcons got to win me back. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, I think that it's annoying that I had so many like actual good points in my analysis and then just blew all my picks because I was like, yeah, I think Mariota will be fine. I think
Yeah.
they'll cruise even with him. And now I didn't expect the return touchdowns and the return yardage to be such a huge factor in that one. I think I took Atlanta. I think they're gonna bounce back.
Okay.
You wait, did you say you took Washington?
I took Washington. Yes.
Oh, okay. I was like, wait a
We got
minute. You
two.
said
We got
Washington.
two
It
now.
like registered, and I was like, yeah, no, I also took Washington. Wait a minute.
Folks, he
See,
doesn't listen to anything I say.
I'm always I just get lost in your eyes, which is why we put the weekend away so that it would be your eyes I was getting lost in.
Hey, did you know on the back he looks even sadder?
He looks. Sad's not the word, Jesse, that I would use for that expression. Hungry is perhaps the word that I would use for that one. Yeah, I don't know what to make of the Commanders, man. I really don't. I think Jaden Daniels, if he plays, he's talking about whether he's going to have a brace or not. And he's like, I don't know. It's kind of up to the doctors. And even if I get to play, I just, sorry,
Bless you.
a good podcast host would edit that out, but
Nope.
I'm not a good podcast host. I don't know what to make of the Commanders. Jaden Daniels is going to be limited if he plays. Again, they beat the Raiders, but with a lot of weird special teams stuff.
As you would say, kooky.
Kooky even, and honestly, I just can't see Atlanta looking that bad 2 weeks in a row. I think
Right.
they're going to come back. I could see them looking bad, but I think this is going to be a sloppy game. But I think I've got the Dirty Birds
Okay.
rising from the heap.
This next one we don't need to spend a lot of time analysis wise on. Bills and Saints. I'm taking Buffalo all the way. Saints
That's
have
three. No,
been.
I'm kidding.
I was about to end this broadcast. Um, Next one after that's gonna be Eagles and Bucks. This one's interesting. I think the Eagles are an imperfect team for sure, but again, they're 3-0. And looking at the Bucks schedule of who they play, they've played some nail biters against some teams that I'm like, going up against and wire to wire with the Tyrod Taylor led Jets is not confidence inspiring. I'm glad they came out with the W on that one, but I'm taking the Eagles.
I still stand by everything I said about the Bucks last week. I think that they've kind of taken on Baker Mayfield's personality, which on the last episode you were like, I know you're not a big Bake guy, but I don't dislike Baker Mayfield. I actually like his confidence. He did go to Oklahoma, which is a dog school, but that's not his. I mean, it is his fault, but like I don't hold that against him to this point. I did take the Eagles as well. Mostly because I think that the injuries are kind of starting to pile up for Tampa Bay. I know they're going to get
Hmm.
Godwin and Tristan Wirfs back soon. Who Tristan Wirfs is probably one of the most valuable non-skill players in the league.
I think so.
Um, his athleticism from the tackle position just unlocks so much of their run game success over the last couple of years and their screen success. They've been really good. Tampa Bay has the last couple of years on screen passes, and a big part of what unlocks that for you is having fast, athletic linemen that can get out and move in space. They felt his absence for sure. But even as they get them back, Mike Evans is now out and injured, and I don't know. I think it's going to be a competitive game. And again, I don't know that the Eagles have blown me away, but I was really I think I feel better about them after watching the way that they rallied last week when they could have folded. It wouldn't have, it's just not their day. Whatever. We'll go take our ball and go home. But they rallied impressively against the Rams team that we both like. I have the Eagles. This was a tough one for me though. I really did wrestle
Yeah,
with it.
this one is very close, I think. Next one on the slate is Lions and Browns. I don't think the Browns do it 2 weeks in a row. I love that win just for the vibes for them, more than anything, especially their kicker, who's been going through a lot of things outside of football. But for this one, I'm taking the Lions. I like what I've seen from them. I think they've calmed down since the opening week and have started playing more Lions football.
So something that I learned after the Packers game last week for the Browns. The Browns in the last couple years have like a 500 or better record at home and
Really?
like a truly abysmal record away from home. So that's
Wow.
something that I wanted to file away for later in the season. Maybe I'll be able to. And now, obviously, those are the past Browns. I don't know how much that extends to this year, but we have proof of concept that they can still get up for a game, make it on their terms.
Yeah,
But they're not
absolutely.
playing this game in Cleveland. They're playing this game in Detroit. And I think the Lions are rolling again after whatever they got the weirdness out in week one when they
Yep.
looked just abysmal. And they are, I think the Detroit wins this by 2 touchdowns.
I think so as well. Next one on the slate's a weird one. It's Panthers and Pats. I didn't really know what to
That
think of
is
this
a
one.
weird game.
This is a strange matchup, and I didn't really know where to go with this one. And I know I'm probably going to regret this, but I went ahead and took Carolina for this. I'm just not a believer in what the Pats are doing. I'm not. I think their run game is all over the place. Ramondre Stevenson is, you know, putting butter on his hands before he runs the ball. And they don't really have a rushing attack, and they're putting everything on a very young quarterback in Drake May, who is talented, but I'm just not seeing enough from the rest of that team that really gives me any reason to believe that they are going to be consistent week in and week out. Now, on the other side of the ball is Carolina, who again is in a very similar situation that the Patriots are in. But they do have Hubbard as their running back, and I think he provides a little more stability than what Drake May has to work with. So for that reason, I went ahead and took the Panthers. Ooh, okay.
I
Okay.
took New England. No one has, only one team tried harder to lose last week than Pittsburgh in giving the ball away, and that was the team that Pittsburgh was playing, which was New England. Um, I can't buy the Panthers. I don't think they're the worst team ever. I mean, I don't even think they're the worst team this year. But games in New England, I think that the Patriots have actually moved the ball decently well. They just keep shooting themselves in the damn foot. But eventually you're
Yeah.
gonna run out of feet to shoot. And
Or ammunition.
or ammunition. I'm still a Drake May guy. I don't know. Based on the vibe, I know Carolina's coming off of a much more impressive game, but that almost kind of makes me leery. Like I think part of my thinking was, do I believe Carolina can piece together a win streak? And I think deep down I was like, I don't know if I do. And then I asked myself, do I believe New England is as bad as some of the stats say from last week? And I was like, I don't think that they are either. So. I've kind of been throwing some cheeky like, oh, they take this by 2 touchdowns like they do on like pregame, but I definitely have no prediction for this score. I took New England. I trust them a
Okay.
little bit more than I do the Panthers. But keep
This
pounding,
next
guys. You're almost
one,
there.
this next one's going to be tough. It's Rams and Colts, and every fiber of my fandom is screaming that Daniel Jones keeps this up. But I know at some point he's going to have a game, and I will not panic when that game happens, just because of what he's shown us so far. For this one, they got some absolute talent on their offensive side of the ball. You have Puka and you have Devontae Adams. Where do you focus your strategy defensively? That's where I have the issue with it, and that's why I'm taking to the Rams in this one. And I know Jack's gonna be happy. Shout out Jack for that one. He our Los Angeles brother, we love him out there.
Hmm.
But I went ahead and took the Rams. I think it'll be a good game. It completely depends on what the Rams can do to stop Jonathan Taylor. They have a good solid front four, but I do believe that the Colts are going to struggle defensively against that air attack.
Yeah, I think a couple things. Number one, the easiest way historically to affect Daniel Jones has been pressure. He's handled it very, very well, like atypically well this year. Obviously, the Denver game stands out as a team that sent a
Mhm.
lot of pressure and he handled well. I don't think, like you said, I think that two things can be true. He can be an improved player this year and be better in a better situation. I also don't think he's all of a sudden Josh Allen.
Correct.
And I think he's gonna have, even if they're not like, I don't know that his bad games are gonna be like 7 of 22 for 91 yards and 2 picks. I just think he's gonna have some games where he doesn't look like a top 10 quarterback.
Right.
This one to me screams like as a potential loss for that reason. Obviously, the Rams defense is built through the pressure that they generate in their front seven, really their front four primarily, but they're just their front. I also think the absence of Kenny Moore, especially against a team like
Hmm.
the Rams, where you're going to have, I don't want to say the corpse of Cooper Cup, but a diminished version of Cooper, or not Cooper Cup. Good God Almighty, he doesn't play
Devontae.
Devon. Well, yeah, Devontae works on the outside, and Puka Nakua. Sorry, I was. Whew. So Puka and Devontae, Puka works on the inside, and he would have been a tough matchup for Kenny Moore anyway because he's big, physical, likes to
Yeah.
hit you, good through contact. And Kenny, as elite as Kenny Moore is, he is undersized, and that was always going to be a tough
Yes.
matchup. But without him, I think that really opens up Puka, who's had just a monster season already, to have more success. The cornerback room still to me is a little shaky for the Colts. I don't know that it's solidified. Charvarius Ward against Devontae Adams is going to be fun,
That'll be a
but
fun one.
I just I think that the Colts are not. I mean, they're not going to rip off all these wins against. I don't believe against quality opponents. And it's not as much like I think they're going to lose as I just think the Rams are gonna win. They've looked really strong. Their only loss this season is the game against the Eagles last week, which is just truly like a really good playoff caliber game,
Yes. In
and
Philadelphia.
in Philadelphia. And so I've got the Rams as well. Um, but again, I think this is going to be a good game. I think the Colts have shown enough
Yeah.
through 3 weeks for us to take them at their face value until they show us
Yes.
otherwise.
I think we'll definitely learn a lot about both teams in this situation. Next one is 49ers and Jags, and I had a hard time with this one, but I went ahead and took San Francisco. I think Shanahan's just too good of a play caller, and I think that's going to be the big decider here. I did appreciate on a side note, Mac Jones throwing out the guy when he threw the pick. He's like, I mean, he didn't make a good play. I just threw it right to him,
Mm,
talking about the interception. And then
good man.
had one of the all-time laughs, I think, following that. But went ahead and took San Francisco here more than anything just for coaching.
I have to be honest, when I originally made my picks, I did also take San Francisco, but then later I switched to Jacksonville. So this is actually
Ooh,
number
okay.
4.
Okay.
I don't feel great about it, but kind of like we've talked about with Tampa Bay. As bad as the injuries have been for Tampa Bay, reinforcements are coming.
Yes.
San Francisco is a different situation. They just lost Nick Bosa for the season, who also will be able to host his podcast, but um, he is an elite defensive player that's their defense is really built around what Fred Warner can do at the middle linebacker spot and what Nick
Yep.
Bosa can do on the edge. And it's
Game
a lot of
breaker. Yes.
gum and paper clips kind of holding together the rest of it, especially with their injuries. And now you don't have Nick Bosa, so I worry about what that will do. Mac Jones and Brock Purdy are both kind of like I don't know what their official designation is right now, but they're questionable at least.
Yeah,
They're both hurt. One of
yeah.
them will probably start, and Kittle's out. You know, your wide receiver room has been decimated. McCaffrey has looked like he's still getting a little bit back into game shape. And this Jacksonville team, I don't think is like that great. But I don't know. It's just like one of those like I can't put a finger on it, but I think I have more detriments to the San Francisco case than I do Jacksonville. And so I decided to go with Jacksonville, even though I don't know that I super believe in that. Trevor has been very rough. They haven't really gotten Travis Hunter involved at all. But I don't know. Jacksonville, it seems like this is one of those games we're gonna look up and it'll be like 21-20, and we'll be like, okay, whatever. And then we'll look later, and be like, oh, Jacksonville was the team that won that.
Yeah.
Interesting. So that's I went with Jacksonville.
So the next one here could very well be the game of the week, I think, is Ravens Chiefs. I think we find out a lot about both of these teams as well. For this one, I went ahead and took the Ravens. I don't know if I would have felt great about either pick if I had picked either one, just because I just think the Ravens have more going on and have just lost under some very odd circumstances and have an absolute gauntlet of a schedule for the first 4 weeks of the season. They've been battle tested to start to say the least. So even in their losses, there have been things that have looked good. Derrick Henry needs to hold on to the ball, or I'm just cutting him off
I
my team
don't.
at this
He's got
point.
like 10 career fumbles, and three of them are in the last 3 weeks.
It's
Did
because
you
I
see?
drafted him.
Did you see the clip of him like fumbling himself off the bench though?
Yes.
It's just like nothing has ever somebody hired like an Etsy witch or something
Yep.
to curse Derrick Henry because there's no way, man. Like, sorry, just like it's just ridiculous stuff.
Who are you taking here?
I took Baltimore mostly because I just can't really picture a world where they're 1-3. But that also makes the Chiefs 1-3, and I can't
Right.
really picture a world where they're 1-3 either. I don't know. I think that Baltimore, it's pretty tough to lose that game and then have like your players go like host their own podcast, be like, man, that sucked anyway. Um, but Kansas City just has no weapons whatsoever. And I think even though they obviously beat the Giants and they ended up with a couple explosives to Tyquan Thornton, um, of all people, tell you something about how desperate that room is right now. And I did see right before we started recording that I think they're expecting Xavier Worthy to play, which will help.
Oh, thank
But
goodness.
it looks so hard for the Chiefs right now. They probably have one of the least talented running back rooms in the league.
Yeah,
And Baltimore is a team where they did this kind of last year, where their defense looked really bad at the start, and then they rounded into form. I kind of suspect we get some of that maybe this week. I just don't think Lamar loses again. I've got the Ravens.
I think so too, And at one point, I actually got a phone call from a Kansas City area code. And I was like, "Who is this?" I answered it, and they're like, "Hey, you want to play wide receiver? And we need a guy in the slot." And I was like, "My concussion history,
They
absolutely not."
You're more explosive than the guys they got out there. Like even Hollywood Brown is no longer fast. He's not like slow, but like he's been just so injured over his career that he's no longer a burner. Even their burners aren't burners. Like I just and Travis has like I don't know what's going on. He's 1 foot out of the door, man. He just does not
Yeah,
want to be
he's.
playing football anymore. Yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't blame him. Like,
I don't
but
blame him either. He's getting
he's just
married.
not the name brand carries a lot for him right now.
Yeah,
Um,
and Hollywood Brown looking like Delray Beach Brown is not
I
helping
was trying to
anything
think. I was
either.
gonna go with what was a beef and boards Brown?
Beef.
You remember beef and boards? That's such a niche reference. But beef and boards was like one of those back before like they had all these theaters where you could order food or whatever. It was kind of like that back home, but it was like run down always. It's like a cross between a community theater and like a movie theater, but it crossed only the bad parts of both of those bad places. Sorry, I broke Jesse. What's the next game? You got
Who's
rated
next? Golden Corral Tate? Like
Golden
what's
Corral Tate. That's a good one.
next one is Bears and Raiders. I'm taking Chicago just based off of the offensive performance from last week. This one could very easily go Vegas's way, but I went ahead and took Chicago. Just hopefully for them keeping up on the positive momentum.
I took Vegas, so that's five now. I like that.
Wow.
This one is a coin flip for me, really. I don't think I have a lot of nuanced analysis as to why I picked the Raiders over the Bears. I like the growth a lot from Caleb. I don't think this is a low scoring game. I've seen both these teams play defense. Gino is the most like boom or bust quarterback in the league right now. He's
Yes.
either ripping that shit for like a 50-yard seam ball or he's throwing it right to your safety. And I've seen Chicago play defense, and so I think it's going to be more of the seam ball than the safety. And for that reason, I'm on the Raiders. But that one, Ravens Chiefs is obviously the highlight of the late window, but Raiders Bears, like, that's an interesting game for sure.
Could be some fun football happening. The Sunday night slate, Packers and Cowboys. More than anything, I think this is one that the Packers just don't let slip by them again. I think they are probably feeling a little embarrassed going into this week, and I can't imagine that was a fun week at practice with Coach LaFleur there. So I'm taking Packers on this one, but I do think it'll be a fun game, especially for the night slot.
Yeah, I think the Cowboys are going to be one of those teams that wins like 5 to 6 games, but is like in every game and they're
Mhm.
not like destitute. Whereas like some teams that win 5 or 6 games, it's like, man, they like barely won 5 games. I think the Cowboys are going to be in most of their games. Yeah, I don't, I think that was a wake up call in Cleveland for Green Bay. I just think they come out a lot more focused. They're going to make better plays. Dallas's defense is also playing the Dallas front after playing the Cleveland front has got to be like when you're playing like a video game on like expert mode or like you play like expert on guitar or in Rock Band and then you play like easy drums and you're like this is what you guys were doing while I was doing all that other stuff. That's how it's gonna feel like for them.
We got two Monday night games this week. The first one on the slate is Jets Dolphins, and I'm tempted to say nobody wins here, especially the viewer, but I'm going to go ahead and take New York on this one, especially if Justin Fields is back. Um, that's a tough watch. I'm going to be honest with you, unless you're a fan of one of those teams. Sorry, Allison. I know Allison's become a Dolphins fan in her time living here.
But you're relatively new, Al. There's time to get out.
There's time to get out, and honestly, that's why we started this podcast. We really wanted to talk specifically to you
This is
to
an
tell you we love
intervention.
you, and it's not too late.
South Florida does not have a lot of great choices, but the Bucks much better.
Yes.
Six. This is our sixth game we disagree on. I picked
Wow.
Miami. Some of my favorite comments about this game that I've seen this week are either that they should flex it to Nickelodeon or to the 4 a.m. time slot. I yeah, it's a tough watch. I gotta tell you right now, even if I wasn't out of town traveling for my honeymoon, I would not be devoting any time. I'm actually going to be shit. Sorry, I just had a like an oh shit moment because that's we're arriving in Miami Monday night. So I guess we'll pass the tens of people that are going to this game on our way into the city. I need to
Hey,
account for
that might
that.
be one of the excursions they offer for your first night on the boat.
No, that's
Who
like
wants to go see the game?
who wants to go see the game?
We'll bus you over. We'll pay you. Here's $20 of onboard credit,
That's the
please.
Dolphins. The Dolphins encounter didn't quite live up to what the pictures made it look like. It's just gonna be like Devon Achan like in some a snorkel and swim trunks and like a shallow kiddie pool. I took Miami. I actually feel like even though I ragged on the Dolphins a lot last week, because they have looked really bad, I feel like they're due for like I feel like they're gonna be a bad team that still has 3 to 4 games where they just put up points, and this to me
Yeah.
seems like a game where they're gonna put up points. The vibes are all time bad in Miami. I feel like Jalen Waddle is on witness protection, but this one stands
Free
out to
him.
me as a Jalen Waddle game.
Okay. And then our last game of the week is going to be Broncos Bengals. Again, without Burrow there, I'm not seeing much. And honestly, I 100% believe that the Broncos are better than their record shows. Um, if a
I
team
don't,
doesn't
but
deserve to be, but honestly, in my opinion, I don't think that they deserve to be 1-2 right now. Especially with the weird way that the Colts game ended, which I noticed you didn't text us back for a few hours after that. I was like, I'm going to give him his space, give him some time to process
I was
things.
finding a will to live again. Um, no, I don't know. I don't think they're bad like some of the other 1 and 2 teams, but I don't think they're I took Denver. I think Cincinnati is rough. I think the game in Denver is on in Monday Night Football. That's a big stage. Jake Browning again has experience, but I think Denver will get it done because I don't really want to think about the alternative if they don't get it done. Um, they are still kind of on Bo Nix definitely still on approaching fraud watch status. He's not on fraud watch. It's like it's kind of like a warning. He's on fraud. No, what watch is when you're waiting for a store may develop, and a
Yes.
warning is when it has
So if you
developed.
have a taco watch, the ingredients for tacos are out in the
Yeah.
kitchen. Taco warning, we are eating tacos right now.
Okay, well then he's on, I guess, fraud watch, but not fraud warning yet. Um, but I don't need to spill too much ink verbally about the Broncos here, but I think that they're gonna get this one done. They look shakier. I talked a lot of game. I texted some people that they were gonna win the West this season, and I have not seen
Brother,
that.
you gotta stop talking.
Well, sometimes I'm right, and then it feels good, Jesse. Like I just gotta
So
start being more correct.
before we move out of football, I had something ready for you when we were talking briefly about college football and Notre Dame, and you had mentioned on the last podcast that you were going to become a logger if Notre Dame lost to Purdue. So I had something made for you for this a very unlikely situation. It did not happen, but I felt like
They
it
gave up
still
30
should be
points.
shared.
It was possible.
Um, so here was that for you. That was going to be how I opened the show this week,
I like
but
that in this scenario, I'm wearing like regular glasses and not safety glasses.
hey,
Dangers of AI, children. Um,
that's an OSHA complaint waiting to happen.
yeah, they gave up 30 points though, man. The defense is all time stinky, but CJ Carr
Yeah.
is the guy. I did say that about the Notre Dame Purdue game, and then I watched a chunk of it. The first couple drives, I was like, I might actually have to quit my job. But luckily, we
Um,
didn't get there.
Before we move into talking a little hoops, and then getting into our pop culture, more fun stuff at the end of the pod here. Just want to give a shout out to both of my alma maters here. Indiana Hoosiers absolutely taking care of business um, against Illinois, who should not have been ranked ninth in any
Yeah, that
climate.
was how did that happen?
I'm not sure what happened there. There was
A lot of
probably some
Fox
money
Sports
under the
promo, I
table
guess.
somewhere. But you know what? I'll take it. It looks good on the resume that we took down number nine by 53
Yeah,
points.
I mean, you jumped all the
Um,
way to 11.
yeah, the big time moves. So the second one also a shout out to UCF and the Knights. I don't think they're going to make a ton of noise overall, but anytime we can beat Bill Belichick, just for my own childhood trauma sake,
Right.
it just feels good. Feels good. All right, let's talk a
He
little
can
more.
win at the Super Bowl, but he can't win at the bounce house.
Correct. And bounce house is what separates men from boys. It's
It's true.
just what happens. Little hoop talk here. Just again, shout out to the Zombie Fever. I know they got taken down Tuesday nights, but 1-1
Boy, did
against the
they.
Aces and the MVP of the league, but just inspiring play, and I think that's kind of what the calling card for Indiana basketball has been. Pacers doing similar things, kind of the underdog story. But what else can be said about Kelsey Mitchell that hasn't already been said by people much more talented than me at this? Um, it's just been such a fun development watching her kind of blossom into this. And what I irrationally am hoping is that the development we've seen from her kind of be able to put this team on her shoulders and get the most out of some of the other players here without Caitlin Clark playing is what I'm hoping we see from either Andrew Nemhard or Benedict Mather next year for the
Hmm.
Pacers.
Yeah, shout out the zombie thieves. We made all those jokes and then they actually did win. And they took game one, which I definitely think they're going to lose this series. But man, it's pluck and grit. Although I got to be honest, Jesse, I'm pretty damn tired of pulling for the plucky, gritty teams. Can we just be the better team once?
Just win.
Can we just win instead of having it have to be so damn hard? But no, honestly, echo what you said. Just truly an inspiring performance. Didn't catch any of game one, unfortunately. I saw some highlights and such, but I caught the competitive part of game two, which was the first quarter. Unfortunately, just got away from them. But yeah, I mean, four-time MVP Asia Wilson cooked in that one. You're outmatched, but it hasn't stopped them before. So I'm hoping, at least to take one more game in the series. I would love to win the series, obviously, but also shout out Fever legend Alyssa Smith had a good game against her former franchise. I'm sure that felt
That one
felt
felt
good for
personal.
her. That
That
one
one felt
did feel
personal.
very personal. Probably because it is very personal, but bench just you didn't really see any scoring from the bench. 6 points off the pine, not going to get it done against a
No.
team like the Aces, who had two double-digit scorers off the bench. Which I mean, Jewel Lloyd doesn't start for them, so that's off the bench is doing a little bit of heavy
Yeah,
lifting. But yeah, we'll see. We'll
that's
check
a
back
tough one.
in. We'll check back in on the other side and
Yeah,
see
we'll see
see
what
how they
happens.
did.
All right. To end it, we got a couple different fun segments here. First one is our pop culture segment. You had a really cool idea for this week. Do you want to go ahead and introduce it?
Yeah, so I thought it would be fun. Obviously, we'll probably, as we did in this podcast and the many others that will follow it, we'll still like kind of shout out some stuff that we're watching or playing or listening to or enjoying. But I thought it would be kind of fun to just like Jesse had the idea for kind of the wacky segment at the end, or not wacky, but just kind of like fun little segment at the end. I thought it would be fun to do like a just like make an elevator pitch on why the other person should in try whatever it is that we're pitching. So for me, it's a movie, and for Jesse, I believe you said it's some music.
Yes.
Um, so we're just gonna make a pitch to the other person of like, hey, this is something that I enjoyed recently. I think you should try it out. Here's why.
Okay. So, what do you have for me? What movie am I watching?
All right, I'm gonna time myself because I said 60 seconds, and I also don't want to like lose track of time. Okay, so three, two, one. Okay, so I want you to close your eyes and imagine a movie so deeply unsettling and but also so like transfixing that you're grossed out, you're creeped out, but you just can't look away. And that is Midsummer. It came out a couple years ago. Florence Pugh is obviously the big star of that movie. Truly some of the most graphic things that I've seen in a movie in recent times, so it's definitely not for the faint of heart. But it's one of those like creepy movies where you just like you're so like glued, like you cannot look away and like you know what's coming, but it's just so enthralling
Hmm,
that you can't help but go along for the ride, just like the characters that are being hoodwinked are. Some really good acting, some really good. I'm about to blow past my 60 seconds, but I'm gonna wrap up my point. Some I make the joke where when there's like really in like just artistic framing or transitions of scenes, I'm like, ah, they still make real movies. This is a hashtag real movie.
okay.
Great movie. It is rated R, not for the faint of heart. Very creepy. Some extreme gore. I do want to preface that at certain parts. It's not like all over. There's just a couple moments, but can't recommend it enough if you're looking for something to really like give you the heebie-jeebies this fall.
Hey, getting into spooky season. I'll definitely have to check it out. For me, it was an album released at the end of July that I listened to sparingly at the very beginning just because I recognized the name. But over the last week or so, I've definitely been listening to more. And it's from an artist named Quinn92, stylized with the Roman numeral. And I've liked a lot of his stuff. He kind of has that almost lo-fi poppy, kind of going through New York on a subway kind of feel. But he wrote an album that was very much Jack Johnson-esque, early Jack Johnson
Ooh.
career. And for me, the world's been kind of crappy anyway. So,
I'm
especially
telling you.
lately. So, just having some easy listening stuff that just makes me feel a little better. So the album's called Look, I'm Alive. And my two favorite songs in it are Good Day and Tiger Lilies. Just very, very simple, stripped down songs, different from stuff that he's normally done, but definitely something that I think has eased my mind over the last week or so. And especially if I'm feeling, midday work stress, I can put it on and feel just a little bit better.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I'm familiar with Quinn 92 to the extent that I know who or his name, and I know that there are some songs that either he's had or featured on that I've heard, but I don't really know a lot about him. So I'll definitely go check out the album. I like that. We had two things that the other person like truly like, oh, okay, I
Yeah.
don't know.
A little bit out of each other's comfort zone too.
I like that. I like that.
Yeah.
Well, Jesse, we're gonna take one more quick hashtag sponsored break, and then we'll come back to do our last segment and close out the show.
Sounds good.
And welcome back. Once again, we are desperately seeking sponsors. So if you are interested or know somebody who might be, hit us up. We
Even just to
actually
pay for the premium Zoom subscription for one of us, that'd be great.
that honestly, yeah, because that is once again not a ad break. It's just a Zoom enforced break. We actually do have a Gmail for the podcast. You can reach us at spillinitpod@gmail.com.
The
Spillin
funniest
it.
part is I had no idea we had a
Well, I had
Gmail.
to do it to make the YouTube page. So I was like, okay, cool, we got an email. Not that I think it's really probably gonna matter because all the people that listen to this podcast, to our knowledge, they have our phone numbers so they can just text us. But if you somehow have stumbled upon this and you're like, I like what these guys are cooking, Spillin It Pod, SPILLINITPOD can send us your business proposals. We'll hear you out. Okay, Jesse, this pitch was your idea for this segment. So why don't you go ahead and tell us what our final little game here is going to be?
So this one's pretty straightforward. It's a rule change that you would like to see, and this comes on the heels of the news that the new ball and strike challenge system is going to be implemented league wide. Pitchers and batters are going to have two challenges per game, and I actually really like that they can appeal to the dugout, that they have to just kind of make the decision on their own. I think that's going to keep the pace of play under a good amount. And I know that's been a huge push for the MLB the last several years is making sure that pace of play continues to dwindle a bit. But I saw it in action at spring training down in Jupiter, Florida last year, and I absolutely loved it. I think it is a welcome addition to the game, and I think that's going to help keep accountability up and make it so that we don't have those emotional strikeout pitches happen when they're 6 inches off the plate during a playoff game and we lose a bases loaded situation. I think it's going to be quite helpful. But for this one, again, premise is pretty straightforward. What's a rule change that you want to see? Can be serious, can be a little goofy if you'd like it to be. And based off of your smirk on the other end of that camera, I'm guessing on knowing where yours is going. So I'll go ahead and start. And a rule change that I would love to see is in the NBA. And with that, I think teams should get unlimited challenges if they continue to win them. And
Hmm.
I know
Yeah.
this will never happen. This will never happen because the NBA is too much of a coward to actually do it, to hold their referees accountable in this way. Because all I know is that we're going to get one of these games where a team wins 7 challenges and it's going to be frontline news. So it's not going to happen.
Can you
But I
imagine
would absolutely.
Can you imagine the refs blowing seven calls that you have to
I
just
could.
challenge and win?
I've seen it with my eyes. I'm a
But
good
that you would
Pacers
be able
fan.
to challenge and win. That would be, I mean, I know it's happened, but I'm
Yeah.
just imagining like Sean Payton throwing the red flag for the sixth time and the ref coming over and he's like, you already know I'm right. Like, do we really have to do this? And him be like, oh.
So, if we wanted to make this one a little goofier, we could say if the home team wins 3 challenges, they get to pick 3 fans out of the crowd to ref the rest of the game because they clearly would do a better job at that point.
You also
That,
said NBA and I gave you a football coach. But okay, so
it's
like,
all
can
good.
you imagine like
Carlisle just
I'm imagining, I know he's retired now, but can you imagine like Greg Popovich making his like sixth challenge of the game? And they're like, you can't keep getting away with it, Greg. And he's like twirling his clipboard. He's like, oh, but I can.
I can and I will if you
And
have
I
been wrong
will.
6 times.
I love
And
it.
actually, that's the perfect one to say because he absolutely would. If he had it, he would just keep
He would
doing
have done
it.
it at some point just to be like, like it's a 25-point game, but like I keep winning. I want to see how many times I can win.
Oh,
Um,
they should do it like they do with the free throws. If the coach wins three of them, everyone gets free Chick-fil-A or whatever.
the opposing team misses both ends of a free throw. Like, yeah, that would be good.
Your
I
head
support
coach,
that.
Rick Carlisle, has won three challenges, which means everyone gets a free triple dipper at Chili's.
Nah, Pacers game, it's like the Penn Station sub the next
Oh
day.
yeah. Oh yeah. They just
I
hastily throw
support
the
that
fries.
in any sport. I think that if you continue to win challenge, if you win a challenge, like win all your challenges, why shouldn't you get more? Like you're
Yeah.
right.
Why am I being penalized? Because you're wrong.
Right. So you can just continue to be wrong, and I have no mechanism to check that. I'm all for that. Um, I had one pretty strong one, and then I forgot entirely the original one that I came up with. So the one that I'll tell you the original one, and then you can, I guess, hear the one that I think is goofier. Um, I say that knowing that this would be controversial if it was on SportsCenter or something like that. Ban the check swing. What's
Oh.
why?
Oh.
So that we can kind of in line with and I've thought this before, the automated ball strike system. I've always thought ban the check swing. So we're just doing a swing, and then the ump just gets to determine it. Oh, he's gone far enough, and then if he can't tell, they send it to first base. And that guy from 90 feet away is like, yeah, I don't know, man. He crossed that invisible line across the plate. If your bat moves forward, it's a swing. Like, what are we
Okay.
doing here? Like, that's like if you like run past the line of scrimmage and then go all the way back, and you're like, nah, I didn't do it. Like,
Okay.
or if you step like one toe out of bounds in a basketball game, but your second foot doesn't go there, so you're like, oh no, I didn't do it. Like, that's crazy to me. Like the check swing, I've never understood it. I
Okay.
know real ball watchers are gonna hate me for it, but if your bat moves forwards and you're swinging, that's a strike. You might as well commit to it.
I completely get where you're coming from. As a former baseball player, that rule would have ended my career, I think.
It would end
Um,
a lot of careers.
because Kyle Schwarber is shaking in his boots. But for me, like the outside slider, I could hit any fastball. You could throw it 106. I was going to turn around. I had quick hands. The outside slider was my kryptonite, and that check swing saved me so many times. I probably would have been cut if check swings weren't allowed.
And that's great, but be better. Like I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Like have a better eye, like
Pick up the spin better.
I just like
Um,
see it.
that's an interesting one. I will not agree or disagree publicly on that one. I will let that one marinate a bit, and then I'll probably tell you that you're incorrect
It's
over
okay. We
text.
know big baseball's got its hooks in you.
Oh yeah, they do. They always have.
For fun, this isn't even necessarily the reason I ultimately is like this one makes more sense. The other one, which I told you I wanted to talk about on our podcast, and then we haven't yet. We got to get rid of the taunting rule, the taunting
I
flag.
yes, that was my
To
original one
me,
that I had. Yes,
to
yes,
me, you should be penalized if you don't taunt or celebrate.
exactly.
Like older fans are like, they gotta act like they've scored a touchdown before or whatever. They're playing a
Why?
game.
Why?
If I score a touchdown and like run a dude over, I want to be up in his face, like, what you gonna do about it? Now, you don't need to like slap people, and like, obviously, I'm not saying you can say whatever you want to, which we wouldn't hear on the audience unless Amon-Ra St. Brown is involved, in which case the whole country heard what he said. But I just like celebrating to me, like, you don't have to be disrespectful. I think there's a fine line,
Yes.
but these flags that they're throwing are insane. And I like, I was worried. We talked about Cam Bynum last week and all his great celebrations. I
Yeah.
was like, they're gonna flag this because it's fun.
Yeah. The no fun league. For me, especially like I'll go one better. I want production value. I want props. Like if we could get a little pyro in here, like give me something
Bring
worth.
like the golf cart out that's for the medical tent and let Jonathan Taylor jump over that. The best celebration that anyone's ever seen was that the first one that everyone always brings up. There's two. One was Ezekiel Elliott jumping into the
Yep.
Salvation Army
Yep.
Cup, which he was fined for. And then the other one, I forget which receiver it was, but he was the one that planted the phones on both
Joe Horn.
goalposts. Yes, Joe Horn.
Joe Horn.
Incredible celebrations. People still talk about
Absolutely.
those.
Absolutely. And
Both
then
were
Michael
penalties.
Thomas, Mr. Slant had to redo it years later. But yes,
Yes. Cheap imitation,
legendary.
but
The TO on the Dallas Star all-time classic, and then they
all-time
will like
classic.
wrestle at halftime or not halftime at midfield. Like absolutely incredible stuff. And
Baker
it
planting the
adds to the
flag post
value.
game in
Yeah.
college,
Fire.
like I don't I think we sometimes get so hung up and are like, this is sports. Like they these are grown men. They need to show up in suits and show no emotion.
Especially in baseball, man.
Yeah,
Especially in baseball.
the like, dude, if I hit a nuke to center field, you better believe I'm not like calmly putting the bat on its rack and then like shaking the hand of every baseman as I go by. I'm like, again, I'm not trying to be like a dick to people,
Right.
but I'm gonna celebrate that thing.
Have you seen some of the ones that they have buried on MLB The Show? Some of the like
Yes.
bat
That game is that game th those game designers were on something when they put some of those things in there.
some of them, like the ones with the guys like on the ground, like pretending to swim, like just excellent.
My,
Bring it in. Bring it in.
my
Let us
favorite
see it.
my favorite that I've ever seen on MLB The Show, and I still to this day, because I saw it on a clip, I don't know if it was like a glitch or it was meant to be, but the guy was like parallel to the ground, levitating down the third base line. And I was like, God, I hope that that's something that you could do in that game because it was so funny. He was just like laying flat, just like 2 inches off the ground, levitating down the base path. Oh my God. But yeah,
Oh
bring
yeah.
more taunting. It's a game. We're playing a game. It doesn't have
Yeah.
to be hard. Keep it
Make
simple.
it fun.
Make it
Make it
fun.
absolutely fun. And I think the NBA has done a really good job of making it a players' league.
Hmm.
Sometimes to the detriment of, keeping guys in a single place. But I think the freedom of expression that they have for the most part, there are texts here and there, but the freedom of expression that they have just makes the game fun. I love seeing the
Hmm.
bench mobs. I love seeing when teams get their guys hyped up. They get their crowd hyped up. And here's the thing, people are paying a lot of money to go to these events now. It is not cheap. When you are going intentionally. You have to plan this out. And for regular people like us, we have to budget these things to go.
Hmm.
So when I go, I want to go see these guys do their thing. I want to see them have fun. I want to see them play safely. But more importantly, like I came to see an entertainment product. And
Correct.
if that is entertaining, which the vast majority of people find entertaining, that's what I pay for as a person. And these guys have worked so hard their entire careers. Let them have a little fun. Like they are constantly in the gym. They're constantly doing these things to get out and play in front of tens of thousands of people. In my opinion, 100%, I agree. Let them have fun.
Good closing argument, Jesse. I
Yeah.
couldn't have said it better myself. And I did say it. So
Yeah.
that's what we got this week, man.
Yeah.
Short programming note. Crazy that we're doing this 2 weeks into the pod. There will not be a pod next week because, as you might have heard and picked up on earlier, I will be on my honeymoon and I will be somewhere in the Bahamas. So no pod, sorry. Again, a better podcast host would probably have we would have pre-recorded some sort of like island episode or something, but it feels kind of early to be doing that.
Feels a
So
little bit premature,
so we'll be
but
off 1 week, but then we'll come back and we'll catch up on all the stuff that we've missed. We'll be back, but no episode next week.
yeah, and I'll be here because you're like the only person I really talk to. So
Oh, please.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I talked to two people, the other one being your wife.
Yeah, you notice, folks, that his wife has not been mentioned as a person he talks to.
That's a given. I mean, to be fair, she is asleep right now. She's taking a very long nap, but that's neither
Brother,
here nor there.
I'm sorry, Ashley. It is not a nap when it's 8:50 p.m.
You'd be surprised.
You just stay in bed. Anyway, not as many wife references this week. I feel like we got to bump that up. Rookie
I
numbers
know.
today.
We need a wife episode at some
We'll
point.
put a counter. Maybe we'll get a technology sponsor too, and they'll give us
Ding,
some
ding, ding,
widgets.
ding, ding.
All right, guys, that's gonna do it for this week of Spilling It. That's Jesse. I'm Ben. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back in 2 weeks, and good luck to everybody on their picks. Again, if you have any feedback, share it with us. We're happy to take notes and suggestions. But until next time.
Be good to each other.